Welcome back to the newsroom here at France 24. It's time for Media Watch now. James Creedon, our media editor, is here. Good to see you, James. Now, we're starting with Le Monde, that bastion of French journalism, which has got a bit political, hasn't it? It's got a pretty blunt editorial calling on President Hollande to ditch the Greens.
That's right. Here it is on the front page of today's Le Monde. Let's put an end to this fool's game that is the Green ministers, the Green Party ministers. Essentially, this comes down to a difference of opinion about the European Fiscal Pact. The Green Party, they have two ministers in power, voted it down by 70% in an internal election. They're against it. They're against the whole notion of austerity. François Hollande isn't, and he wants to vote this through, and he probably will have to do that now with the help of the UMP party.
And let's give a little bit of context here, because there was a time when the Socialists very badly needed the Greens, because the Greens did extremely well in European elections a few years ago. So the Socialists thought, let's get in with them and boost our representation in Parliament. But now they don't really need them so much,
That's right. And Le Monde, as far as they're concerned, they're saying, look, to vote down or to be against the European Fiscal Pact is essentially to be against the euro. To vote that down means the end of the euro. So they're saying, look, get rid of these guys. It's bad news. But a lot of people have been criticising Le Monde, saying, hold on a minute, in your front page editorial to become that political, are you meant to have a little bit of impartiality as a newspaper? Yeah. So you have... comments such as this here under the article saying, what are you playing with? A paper just as respectable as you are shouldn't ask for the withdrawal of ministers. This is rubbish. Another person, I like this one up here. We're waiting for Valerie's tweet where she will support Cécile Duflot. Now, Cécile Duflot is one of the Green ministers in government, and Valerie has had a record of controversial tweets where she supports people she shouldn't support. I haven't seen her tweet since the tweet.
Oh, really? Twitter account's gone quiet, is it? All right.
Now, she did speak to Barry Match, saying that she will not stand down.
Minister, right?
This is the more prominent of the two of the Green ministers, saying she would not stand down.
And she's responding to the Le Monde article, is she?
That's right. She is responding to the calls by Le Monde and others for her to stand down. And the Prime Minister said, look, they're not going to be got rid of. This, I think, illustrates François Hollande's problem this week pretty well. All of the indicators are red, even the Greens. So everything is... It's a particularly bad week for François Hollande. And if you look at the front page, actually, of Le Monde, I'll show it to you. Their main headline is a black week for François Hollande. And the polls aren't good for him either at the moment. We'll take a look online, because Le Figaro, twice in 1 month, well, if you go back to August, yes, they have headlined on an 11% drop in the polls, right? But it's actually two different polls giving the same results, but they gave two headlines consecutively pointing out that he's en chute libre, free falling in the polls. But that's actually, it's not like he's fallen 11% and then another 11%. It's the same 11% polled 1 month apart. There you go. So it's a bad week for him between splits in his government and all the rest of it.
All right, now a man who's had several bad weeks in his life is... a
bad year, really, hasn't it?
Bad year, really. Dominic Strauss-Kahn. But he's trying to put all of this behind him now, and he's making friends again.
Slowly but surely, he's trying to get back into the news I suppose in a business economist type way. This is it. There he is with Condoleezza Rice. That was at the Yalta European Strategy Summit on the 14th of September in the Ukraine. Now, at that, he made a pretty dramatic announcement. He said Europe, if they want to get out of the crisis, instead of pooling debt, they should pool interest rates. Now, did anyone speak about that in France? Not one single politician, not one single media outlet spoke about this.
Or at the Eurozone level, indeed.
That's right. This is a former head of the IMF making a pretty, what some would see as a sensible proposal.
People
no one spoke about it.
He does know a bit about economics, doesn't he?
So this is it. And this article here is talking about how bit by bit he is trying to come back into the fold. According to those close to him, he is very solicited in terms of his consultancy work, etc., etc. So there you go. He is being sought after. In fact, last Friday, he was also interviewed by the rolling news channel eTélé, where he said that he would like to play a role again, if a somewhat discreet role, where he's not an actor, he's more of a commentator.
An advisor. And could a return to politics be on the card, did you think?
He's certainly not talking about that, and I think it's probably not possible, to be honest. And actually, even if he wants to talk more about policy and about the economy, these are two headlines that we've seen in the last week, actually, in France. Anne Sinclair, his now estranged wife, suing a glossy magazine who are talking about a new relationship that she is having, and DSK suing a whole lot of other glossy magazines for exactly the same thing. So people are still interested in the private life side of things more perhaps than his economic
These gossip
views.
magazines, they're constantly in court, aren't they? All right. Now, the next story, I read it today, actually, when you posted it
Fascinating,
earlier.
isn't it?
Very frightening.
Yeah.
And it talks about how people who are just studying today, people who are today students who will be looking for jobs in later life, will find that what they do now on Facebook could affect their
prospects.
later in life. Yeah.
It's a really, really interesting article.
And I want to close my account straight away.
This is it. And now they paint the picture of a girl called Tina Porter. She's now 18. She's living in the US. Well, let's fast forward to 2020. Now, she tends to update her profile quite a lot. She has a couple of health issues here and there, but relatively healthy person. And in 2020, there's a law firm in Seattle, and they've brought in an expert from Narrative Data Incorporated. So this is projecting into the future, a possible future. And they basically data mine the internet, websites such as Facebook, etc., to see what kind of profile. We're not talking about what she has studied or the colleges she went to or the universities she went to, but what her personality is like, how appropriate she is to this job. So, for example, they tell the human resources person, this is the person you're looking for. She has all the things, but she has acute migraine. And
which she'd never posted about. They just put that together from looking at her patterns on Twitter and Facebook.
That's right.
And the rest
Kind
of
of all these algorithms. For example, each time for a period of several days, we see a slight drop in the number of words she uses in her posts. Her vocabulary shrinks a bit, and her tweets, usually sharp, become less frequent and more nebulous. So it's showing it's demonstrating how for one person in the future, using neuroscientists, sociologists, psychologists, all working together in a company like that, you could basically read somebody's personality, which could have an impact on their debt, their job prospects, all sorts of things.
Bit of a nightmare scenario. You've got 10 seconds, James, to show some beards and moustaches.
All right. This was in Alsace this weekend. Take a look at that, right? You think you don't have a lot to do with your time? Well, you've got all these guys in Alsace, and they were at the European Beard and Moustache Festival looking rather dramatic.
Meanwhile, in Alsace, James Creedon, you have a long way to go with that facial hair.
This is it. Needs a bit of fertiliser.
Thank you very much indeed. That's it for Media Watch. All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to leave you now with web news.